Lovely. Okay, so hello, Lou. Just to reflect on this question then, how do you think the 10 components played out in what we've just done?
Yeah, I was just really mindful all the way through that. On one level, what I was doing was just sitting, muted some of the time, like smiling a lot and not, giving you attention. So that's the first thing, isn't it? In a way, you could say that only one of the components was there in that I gave you attention. But the attention works because all of the others are in place, I think. So we see one another as equals, as equal thinkers. We allow the diversity of each other to think differently. We appreciate one another, and off camera, we've just done a wonderful sort of few turns of appreciation. The information is there in terms of us sharing a landscape of the national project and knowing the context we're talking about. The ease is there because we have a sort of, I think we're on a wavelength between us where we're very comfortable with one another. Encouragement was there, I hope, in my smile for you and the way we set this up. Feelings were there, the difference in energies between the sort of 10 films, when you talked about the vulnerability issue, being vulnerable safely, that was it was different, wasn't it, from some of the energies of the other. And place was important. You're at home, you feel comfortable, you were standing, so you were able to really freely release all the words and give a performance that was completely congruent. And I hope I've covered all 10 there. I usually miss one out, but for me, a thinking environment is very much about whoever facilitates it, well, both parties, all parties, hold those components in place. And if one's missing, it's not quite a thinking environment. But I think they were all there. What do you think?
Gosh, that's huge, isn't it? I'm just processing everything that you've just said to me. Feels very warm and safe and secure to hear what you're saying, that it all really worked well. That's the message that I'm picking up from everything that you said to me there. And I really particularly liked your observation of it being congruent, because for me, that's such a special thing, because in my life, being congruent has been a hard-fought battle, because often emotions and thoughts and feelings will fly everywhere, especially coming from the kind of chaotic background that I come from. So thank you for that. What do you think?
Well, the point of it, of course, was for you to do your best thinking. And wow, I mean, the thinking that you did in those 10 videos and certainly the 7 that we did together in a thinking environment was just incredible. So, and in that definition, it worked. But I want to come back to this notion of congruent and a congruent performance. Teaching is that for me. It's got to be a performance, because you need to be more than you are in order to be able to be there, facilitating, holding a space for people to learn and be all that they can be. And that's what we do. We create a space for people to be able to explore their own potential. That's very much what teaching is, what community learning is. And we need to be congruent in that. Otherwise, it just becomes fake, false, insincere, and people can tell that. And at the heart of that, and the problem that I think we have got in adult and community education, I think probably in all education, is that we do not see ourselves as being equals. Tutors, students, managers, we're in these really sort of drawn out hierarchies where equality is not present. And I hear that in echoes throughout, even the phrase, my learners, is enough. It's like a red rag to a bull, because it tells me there is a paternalism there that might be completely well meant, and I'm sure that it is, but equality is missing. And I believe that education can be a thinking environment without necessarily as always operating strictly in a thinking environment, if that makes sense. But as long as the component of equality is missing, then, you know, we're on a hide into nothing. What do you think?
Really, really interesting. I've long since had such strong issues with higher systems, hierarchical systems. I don't understand them. They're very confusing for me. And yes, considering the use of the word learners, as you pointed out right now, that resonates as quite strongly hierarchical. It is not something that's occurred to me because there isn't an option that I've found. And I can see in everything that all of the points that's been written and the dialogue that I've just had, I can see that none of that is about hierarchy, that it is about equality. And that really, really pleases me and makes me feel that that congruence you talk about is mirrored in even that element. So thank you for that, Lou. What do you think?
I'm thinking about mental health now in particular, and how I think we made a lot of progress on the national project. I don't think we nailed it at all or even nearly, but that notion that people with mild to moderate mental health problems cannot be us, are not us, you know, are other, student, learner, whatever, is other. Tutor is other when managers are thinking, managers are other when tutors, you know, this way in which we other one another all the time. And I think that's particularly powerful when it comes to mental ill health, because what it means is that those of us who are in the privileged position, we have to hide. We can't express and explore our own vulnerability safely. It's not safe to be vulnerable. It's not safe to disclose. And we're in these hierarchies that don't allow us to work in a way that's healthy for us. And I think that what I have seen at Derby has been the absolute opposite of that. Yes, you are still technically in a hierarchy, but the way in which you work, and from all that I've seen and heard and talked to you and what I saw for myself at Derby, was it was an intentional foregrounding of that component of equality wherever possible, accepting that within a hierarchy it's never going to be possible in every place, but wherever possible you brought all the components, but particularly equality, to the fore. And that for me was the absolute joy of the Derby project. What do you think?
I think I feel incredibly moved that yourself, with all of the experience that you've got, has been to Derby and made that particular observation. And incredibly, I feel incredibly moved, and that's very, it feels very warm to me and very gratifying to hear that. I just feel quite emotional now about that. Thank you. What do you think?
Well, feelings are allowed, aren't they, in a thinking environment? And if feelings are not present, then it isn't a thinking environment. So I think it's okay to feel all of those things. And in the last, hour and a half, we've been on quite a journey. And I'm thinking how different that is from, you know, one of the things that you did really well at your celebration event was showcase individual learners and case studies, if you like. And that's, you know, that's great. That's really, you know, it's wonderful to be able to do that. But what's really important to the future of community learning, what's really important is the sort of digging down that we've done, and that you in particular have done last night and today, and in all of your thinking in preparation for these videos, where you brought all of the thinking environment components in. So I want to say thank you. And I want to point out that we've got 35 seconds left if I reach for the pink book. So at this point, I'm going to ask you one last time, what do you think?
I think now that we're coming to a conclusion in this, I feel yet again inspired by conversations with yourself and by having worked with Katina and the other amazing people that have been on my project and in the projects around the country. And I just feel incredibly privileged. And that's what I think, how lucky am I, is what I think.
What a perfect place to leave it. I'm going to switch the recording off and then we'll do our appreciation. Thank you, Alicia.